Georgia is officially starting the clock on a complete overhaul of how you vote.
A newly formed state panel met today to redesign our voting system, but critics warn a hasty rollout could bring chaos. Atlanta News First Abby Casores is live at the state capitol for us. And Abby, what is the biggest roadblock that they ran into today?
Well, there's a direct clash between political pressure and logistical reality. State purchasing experts warn that it could take months to buy a new system, and one single holdup could really hold up the whole process.
Let's see if you'll mash. There we go.
With the click of a button, Georgia's new Election Equipment Committee gavelled in at the Capitol. Their mission, removing QR codes from ballots statewide, debating touchscreen machines, and forcing a return to hand-marked paper ballots by 2028, while election officials insist our current system is secure. Relentless post-2020 political pressure finally forced lawmakers' hands.
Let's be candid. We're here because people have lost trust in the system.
But ripping out and replacing a swing state's voting infrastructure is a massive gamble. State purchasing experts warn even an uncontested contract takes up to 6 months. One lawsuit or contested vendor could trigger an automatic stay, instantly freezing the rollout.
We realize that the procurement process, the implementation, the training process takes time.
And then there's the price tag. Georgia spent $107 million on its current touchscreen setup in 2019, buying more than 30,000 machines. The only Democrat on the committee, State Representative Scott Holcomb, points out that taxpayers are still actively paying off that debt.
I am troubled that we haven't even finished paying for them when we're jettisoning them.
Local election officials also warn hand-marking ballots will choke polling places with longer lines. Yet, because Georgia law demands one uniform system for all 159 counties, there is zero room for trial and error.
Georgia's a little unique from a lot of other states involved in that we're one of just a handful of states in the country that require a uniform system across the state. All in favor of approving these rules signify by saying aye. Aye.
The rules are locked in and the countdown is officially on.
Now we'll move on to...
Next up, the panel has 4 scheduled public meetings starting on September 3rd. They'll have to hand over the recommendations to the governor by January in order to help craft legislation. Live at the state capitol, Abby Casores, Atlanta News First.